Hey everybody, hope you guys are having a good afternoon here. I've got a severe weather kind of summary for you guys here. We're going to be forecasting this whole thing. We're like about to take this massive blow from this severe weather outbreak that could be even maybe historic. But there's no doubt that it's going to be an outbreak. You already got a moderate risk out here for over 2.5 million people. We got some really dangerously we have major cities that are dangerously in the path of this thing, and some weather forecasters are saying this could be a Jericho. So I think that this will. I think I'm agreeing with them. So we might have a Jericho on our hands here, and if we do, we're gonna see a lot of damage and winds in not only that moderate risk, but the whole area around it. So we're gonna have a lot of things to talk about. We're not gonna get into the stuff like wind shear and everything, but there's gonna be a lot of wind shear, and there's gonna be a higher tornado risk. So we're gonna really have to talk about all this. Maybe even some hail, damaging hail. But because the temperatures are so warm out here, we're just gonna have this Gulf moisture fueling the system. If we were in the summer, something would spin up here in the Gulf, but it's just that there's so much moisture, it's just feeding the system. So right now we are about to take a crazy blow from the system. But I think the tornado threat is mainly inside this moderate risk. The damaging wind threat though is everywhere here. So you can see that you've got a marginal risk here of looks like just under 10.5 million people, including Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Arlington, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, and Plano, Texas. So, any of you living in those cities, consider yourself at risk for damaging winds. But tornadoes, I think you guys would be pretty much free from it. It's just really depending on where these warm fronts and cold fronts are going to go. You've got a pretty strong cold front, though, that's coming in here from the southwest. And then that could slow this thing down, but I think that so far we've got a big enough system on our hands that, we're pretty much past the point of if it's going to be causing problems. I think this is definitely going to be causing problems. And if I had to guess, I would say that this is going to be historic. So, you can see here that for the slight risk, you've got cities including Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, and uh, Olathe, Kansas. So, any of you living near those cities, you gotta make sure you're ready. Slight risk is not normal, but it's not terrible. So, I would say if you're past the slight risk, I would say you guys are in the way of this. I'll tell you that, but they're definitely going to have to be ready for whatever's going to come, especially if you're in slight, enhanced, or moderate. And then if this does get upgraded, then obviously the high risk if it were to get upgraded. But you've got a population of a little bit over 5 million people, so it's a pretty big risk. But we're going to be breaking down the last two chances for the last two categories. So the last two categories, as you probably know already, is your enhanced risk and your moderate risk. So here you go. Your enhanced risk with a population of just over 2.5 million people: Wichita, Kansas; Springfield, Missouri; Fayetteville, Arkansas; Springdale, Arkansas; and Joplin, Missouri. I'm watching Wichita, Kansas. I think Wichita has pretty much been a city that has been missing out on these severe weather events, which is good. I mean, missing out, I mean, like, not really getting included in any of this. But I think today there's gonna be at least one or two really strong wind gusts that are gonna move right through Wichita. There's an area a little bit farther south, a little bit farther north that um, both me and the National Weather Service were kind of everyone, all these forecasters out there, were all concerned about. I think it's just north of Tulsa, and then this is going to continue moving on its path northeast. So you might see a few additional gusty winds late that will move through the Louisville area, Charleston, maybe, this whole area here. But right now we're focusing on this main area for now. Then we will continue, as we get into the later hours, we'll continue watching on the areas that it will later impact. So yeah, so that's a pretty big area for enhanced risk. So if you're living in the enhanced risk, you got to be ready. You have to be ready. Going to be at least there's going to be at least 3 wind gusts inside of this enhanced risk that are going to be at least 50 miles an hour. There's no doubt about this. But we just don't know where that's going to be because we don't have a pinpointed area. So, any of you living in Wichita, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Springdale, Arkansas, or Joplin, Missouri, even the areas around it, just make sure that you're ready for tomorrow and that you have, or today, I should say, and that you have a plan for wherever you're going to go. If you have a basement, a storm cellar, a shelter, just any place where you can be protected from trees coming down or maybe damaging winds that could blow out your windows. I mean, there's a threat for over 85-mile-an-hour wind gusts. 85 is very strong, but you could have a risk for windows blowing out. So you always just want to be ready. You obviously don't want to be in the regular level of a house and near windows when you have wind gusts over or potentially over 85 miles an hour. I think that you really got to make sure that you are in a very safe spot if it's a basement or a storm cellar during that period of life-threatening wind gusts. So, moderate risk. Yesterday, when I tried to do this forecast and the video was too long for my screen recorder, so so it was the moderate risk was only in this tiny area here. Actually, no, it wasn't even in Oklahoma City yet. So this was even smaller. So this was like here. And I said, okay, so I think that this is definitely going to expand. And if it does expand, it'll definitely expand this way. And I circled pretty much this area, not quite Tulsa, Oklahoma. But sure enough, it did expand that exact same way. It's almost like the National Weather Service read my mind. They definitely expanded this around this a little bit after like 9 o'clock this morning, and then you had all these new major cities that were included in this moderate risk. So you've got a population of over roughly 2.5 million people here. I mean, it is crazy the amount of people under this insane threat of insane wind gusts. It's crazy. So Oklahoma City, major city, guys. It's a beautiful city. You definitely don't want it to be destroyed, or not destroyed, but at least damaged by this system here. But it's looking like it's in the direct path of it. Same thing for you guys in Tulsa, Norman, Oklahoma. You have a major National Weather Service facility in Norman, Oklahoma. So you got to make sure that you are definitely ready if you're in any of these areas or the areas surrounding this. Lawton, Oklahoma, and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So, this is we just went through the whole categorical outlook, but we're going to look at the tornado, wind, and hail threat up next. Okay, so we just looked at the probability for any factor of severe storms. It's most likely going to be wind, but you also have a tornado threat. So, let me head to your tornado threat here. Also note that, the moderate risk is actually almost identical to that 5% risk. Actually, it was this morning. It was actually completely identical to the 5% risk, but now that's expanded, and now you have a 10% risk. So you can see here, you got 2% risk consisting of Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and then Olathe, Kansas. So, you have a population of just a little bit over 5 million people. So, the 2% risk is definitely a large area, but it's not a large probability for tornadoes. 2% risk, it's out there, but it's very unlikely. 5% risk. Okay, this is where things get a little more noticeable. you did not have a 10% risk. You didn't have a 10% risk yesterday. We only had this 5% risk, but that wasn't even this large yet. So, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wichita, Kansas, Norman, Oklahoma, Wichita Falls, and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So, also note some of these cities, actually, a lot of these cities are in that um, level 4 to 5 risk. So, when you switch this back to the categorical outlook, you can see that the moderate risk is also including some of these areas in the 5% risk, but then there's an even smaller pinpointed area for the 10% risk for tornadoes. So you see these dash marks here. This is what the National Weather Service calls a hatched area. So, I'll read you this. A hatched area is 10% or greater probability, so keep that in mind, of EF2 or to EF5 tornadoes within 25 miles of a point. So, that means that even if it's 25 miles from Fort Sill, the city or town you're looking at, you still have a 10% risk for, or at least 10% risk for EF2 to EF5 tornadoes. I mean, this is crazy, guys. EF2 is like 110 to 150 mile an hour wind gusts. I mean, this is crazy, guys. This is not something you want to mess around with. I definitely would make sure that you have gas in case you need to evacuate for some reason. If you have water, you need water. You definitely need to make sure you have plenty of water. A severe weather kit. I know it's not really what you would think, but it's like basically I guess we should call it a health kit. It's like a first aid kit. Make sure you have anything ready for if you have any injuries or anything. Make sure you have flashlights. I think there's going to be tons of power outages. We're going to take a look at that map once this system is pretty much done with. But it's going to be, I would say, Oklahoma City is pretty much going to be wiped out, meaning that the whole city is going to be out of power. I think at some point, Oklahoma City entirely is going to be out of power. I really don't have any doubt in that. Just the fact that some people are expecting wind gusts over 85 miles an hour, I just don't see how anyone in Oklahoma City is going to have power through the system unless you have like a generator or something. But I think most people in Oklahoma City are going to lose power. So, 10% risk for tornadoes. You do have a population of just over 1 million people here. 1 million people is a lot of people considering that this is a 10% risk for tornadoes. So, Oklahoma City, Lawton, Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, Yukon, Oklahoma, and Alice, Oklahoma. Any of you living in those areas have to make sure that you are ready for tornadoes. I mean, I think tornadoes are gonna. There's gonna be a few tornadoes out there, but I'm just not completely sure of how strong they're gonna be. I think that you're definitely gonna have 1 or 2 weak tornadoes, but we're not sure what the strongest one is gonna be. We just know that the if we were to guess on which area it would definitely be inside this 10% risk area. So that is something that we are definitely going to continue watching. It's something you have to continue watching as well. So let's go to our wind threat. This is what we're looking at here. Wind threat. Okay, so you've got a 2% risk of just over 5 million people. You got Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Olaf, Kansas. So, any of you, like I've been saying, I'm going to continue saying this just if you didn't catch it. Any of you living in the area or in the towns around the cities I announce, you've got to make sure you are ready for whatever category I announce your city or your area name it. So say Oklahoma City's in a 10% risk for tornadoes, then that would be then you would have to just be ready for a 10% risk for tornadoes in the area around it. So, like I was saying, Dallas. So I actually don't know. I think it glitched out. So I think we were looking at the tornado risk down here while we were looking at the wind map. So the 5% risk. Okay, so scratch what I said about that earlier. This is the wind threat. 5% risk. Just under 10.5 million people under a 5% risk here. Major cities of Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Arlington, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, and Plano, Texas. DFW area. I think that's definitely going to be a pretty good area for for damaging winds. You can see Waco, Texas is not completely in this though. But you are gonna have some storms that are gonna move through Waco. I think it's mainly gonna be though in Dallas or in Fort Worth. So here's the 15% risk. This is where things get pretty high, pretty elevated. So we got a population of just over 5 million people. Kansas City, Missouri, Overland Park, Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, and Olathe, Kansas. So, that's a pretty big area considering this is already a 15% risk. 30%, okay, 30% is where things get pretty dangerous out here. So here we go. You got a population of roughly 2,656,277 people. Wichita, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Springdale, Arkansas, and Joplin, Missouri. All of you guys are unfortunately in this risk. Got a lot of major cities in this, but this is where you're gonna have at least one 65 plus mile an hour wind gusts. This is where that is definite. You got a 45% risk here of damaging thunderstorm winds or wind gusts of 50 knots or higher. So 50 knots is like 55 to 60 miles an hour. So this is a 45% risk for damaging wind gusts of 55 to 60 miles per hour at least. So this goes for Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, Lawton, Oklahoma, and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. This is the pinpointed area, and it's been like this all day. I mean, I'll say it again. You're gonna have a frontal line that's gonna form very fast. So it's gonna kind of form right here. You may get a little bit less damaging winds in this area. It's a pretty sharp cutoff. But if I were to pick, I would say this is the area I think is going to get the most wind gusts. I think this is going to be the winner if we had a contest for which area would get the highest damaging wind. I think it's going to be definitely in this area. So you're going to have so this is the hatched area here, significant severe. So this is significantly severe. You have a population of over 5.5 million people. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wichita, Kansas, Springfield, Missouri, and Norman, Oklahoma. So that's pretty much what we've been seeing today, and basically a lot of yesterday, but mainly today because of this new information. So we're gonna quickly go over the hail risk. I don't think it's gonna be that crazy out there, but you got a pretty big hail risk as well. This is why I'm saying severe weather outbreak. I mean, look at this. You got 5% risk for Kansas City, Tulsa, Overland Park, Kansas City, Kansas, and Topeka, Kansas. So, I mean, that's a pretty good risk. So, probability of 1-inch diameter hail or larger with 25 miles of point. So, we're going to go to 15% risk. That's your yellow here. You've got Oklahoma City, Wichita, Kansas, Norman, Wichita Falls, Texas, and Lawton, Oklahoma. So, any of you in those areas, you definitely have a pretty good chance for large hail, which could be damaging. It definitely could be damaging. Then here's your significant severe. So this is the hatched area. You have, so for the hatched area, it's 10% or greater probability of 2-inch diameter hail or larger within 25 miles of a point. So I'll go for Lawton, Oklahoma, Atlas, Oklahoma, El Reno, Oklahoma, Woodward, Oklahoma, and Ven, Vemon, Oklahoma, Vemon, Texas. So it's the hail's going to be a pretty big risk, but I think the hail is not going to be too bad as long as we don't have a sudden break with this cold front, and it quickly retreats, and then it allows the warm front that kind of is stuck in this area to drop down south. If this were to, tornado risk would plummet, but you would have a very large hail risk because hail usually happens when the temperatures are hot, and it's not going to be necessarily hot, but it's going to be pretty warm. So, it's something to consider watching that hail. And so, yeah, so we're going to be now taking a look at the timing and radar for this system. So, this is the latest HRRR. This is the 18Z. So, if you want to check this out on your mobile phone or computer, I would recommend a computer for this. So go to Tropical Tidbits and then go to the 18Z for the HRRR model. This is what we're looking at here. So you've been dealing with some snow across portions of central to southwestern Colorado, and then you do have some snow that's been moving through western New Mexico. That's going to continue as your start for your storm. Look how early this starts. This starts at 7 p.m. We thought that this was at first hand going to be a middle of the night storm, but it's already going to fire up here around 7 p.m. So evening hours of tonight, and then you can see here that the frontal line, like I said, forms very fast. So this is Oklahoma City right here. I'm actually going to write in here Oklahoma City. 1 second. So Oklahoma City is like kind of here. So write it in here. 1 second. So yeah, so I think it's definitely going to run through Oklahoma City, bringing damaging winds of at least 65 miles an hour. But you never know. It's something that's it's something that's likely to expected. But you could obviously have just this storm move through, and it's not even that bad. But I think it's at this point it's pretty much likely that there's going to be at least one damaging wind threat here. So here it comes around 11. So like the transition from 11 to, or sorry, 11 to midnight. I think that's where you're going to see the strongest damaging wind threat move through Oklahoma City. But this is definitely going to continue into parts of Arkansas and Missouri as a very strong storm. This could be even a Derico, like I said earlier. So we're going to definitely continue watching this as this kind of spins out here. But look how low this low pressure drops. I mean, once this is kind of north to Oklahoma City, it's going to be around 984 millibars, but it's going to keep dropping. You see 981 here. I think this does drop into the 70s eventually. 980, yeah, 979 millibar low pressure here. So a very low pressure, very strong storm. And it's very organized here. So on the backside of this, you're going to get a lot of cold air because you have a very strong warm front that just moves through, and it kind of took out, it like kind of gave all of its warmth to the system, allowing that cold front to push that weak warm front away. So you're going to have this high pressure here that we're going to watch here. So basically meaning that we're going to notice this and realize that this is the reason why we're not going to have any storms in a pretty good amount of time, because this is pretty high pressure. I mean, this is strong. This is 1,022 millibars, and it's going to kind of just bounce around out here. there's no path for this. It's just there. But yeah. So by like tomorrow, like mid afternoon tomorrow, it should be completely fine. You shouldn't have any problems to deal with. So we're gonna move on to the basically the summary from the National Weather Service on your on like the storm here. So this is your summary. We also could include here the Norman, Oklahoma forecast. This also, I think, for me, this would go for Oklahoma City as well. I don't live in Oklahoma City. I live in Long Island, so this is not. I'm not in this. But right now it is 54, and you got an overcast right now. So it's pretty cloudy, and it's pretty much the beginning of your system. You can see that you're gonna have clouds start to build pretty fast. They're gonna move very fast. These clouds are going to be it's gonna be wild. Actually, I would maybe even take a time lapse. If you're living in any of these areas, obviously don't film the storm while it's at its worst, but like while it comes in and starts to kind of get settled, kind of just watch the clouds move very fast and how they'll go from like pretty light to like pitch black. I mean, it's gonna be dark out there. So, this afternoon's forecast for Norman and Oklahoma City, you got chance of showers 30%, with a high 64. So, you can see it. This just tells you right off the bat that it's got to be an overnight system because you can see overnight 90% chance of thunderstorms. You got windy, severe thunderstorms, then clear. So it's going to be a fast moving system. That's why you have this clear, the clear conditions afterwards. But it's going to be very windy, and you're going to have severe thunderstorms with a low 42. That's not too warm. I'll tell you, today's high is only 64. And usually with these storms, it's a bit warmer than the 60s. So we'll continue watching this because it's a pinpointed area. Let me get back here. So you can see here that we're looking at the Sunday severe. So this is the severe. Um, this is severe for Sunday. I think I lost my. Pen here. 1 second. All right, yeah, I don't think I can get it back here, but this is the Sunday severe. So you have timing from 5 p.m. Sunday, so 5 p.m. today, to 2 a.m. Monday. So transition between like late afternoon to very early morning tomorrow. So you can see the tornado potential. You have a medium. So this is a level 3 out of 4 tornado potential here. So excuse me, you're gonna have this very high tornado potential. I think that's definitely going to stay the same, but it obviously could change. But I think that pretty much throughout the entirety of the event, it's going to be there's always going to be a chance for a tornado to drop out of the sky here. So maximum hail size, you have up to golf ball. Golf ball size hail is going to be that's damaging hail. I'll tell you that golf ball size hail is something that you really want to make sure that you're ready for. And then maximum wind speed, 80 plus miles an hour. I mean, this is what I was saying pretty much throughout the whole beginning of this forecast. 80 plus miles an hour, I mean, that is a lot of wind. So this moderate risk goes out for Ponca City, Enid, Stillwater, Oklahoma City, Clinton, Atlas, Lawton, and then Norman as well. So let me try and get this back here. I think I lost my. Yeah, I can't get it back. But 1 second, guys. Let me just technical difficulties right now. Okay. So I think we don't have enough. We don't have enough screen recording time left. So I think that's gonna have to wrap the video, guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like, share, comment, subscribe. If not subscribed to the channel, we'll catch you guys in the next update. But you stay safe out there. That damaging wind threat's gonna be high. watch out for potentially hurricane force wind gusts. Stay safe.